And welcome back to the program. Great to welcome today. We're looking forward to talking to this gentleman for quite a while. He's a talented man, musician, and a conductor, and a great recording artist in his own right, jazz musician, and a multi-talented man. His name is Billy Stritch, and we're going to talk to him about a brand new CD he has out, his latest, called Billy's Place. But you've also been able to see him in the last year and a half as things in the entertainment business obviously were affected quite a bit, but he's been on Facebook with his show and then on YouTube each week. So we're going to find out about that as well. But Billy Stritch joined us from up in his home right now, his adopted home, my former home, New York City. And Billy, great to talk to you. How are you?
How you doing, Doug? Good to talk to you.
Yeah, great to have a chance to finally to chat with you. I've followed your career since I heard about you originally back years ago. I grew up in New York, as I mentioned before we went on, and listened to a station I'm sure you were very familiar with, WNEW in New York. So I often heard your name mentioned on particularly Jonathan Schwartz's show.
Oh, yeah, before that, Stan Martin, I mean, I had a vocal group in the 80s, Montgomery Plant and Stritch, and we used to go live at WNEW a lot. Stan would have us on for live shows, and it was great memories, really a great time for sure. Yep.
One of the greatest, if not the greatest, radio station that I've ever heard. And again, growing up in New York, you hear a lot of them, but that's the one I had my dial tuned to, 1130, and featuring the American Popular Songbook, which you've made your dedication in your career to, and thank you for that. I think you and I are around the same age, so we both, I guess, gravitated toward it as young people, as kids, right? You did the same thing down in Houston.
Absolutely. I grew up. I was born in '62, and I grew up, hearing these songs mainly on TV. I always say that, my way into the Great American Songbook was actually watching variety shows like the Carol Burnett Show or the Sonny and Cher Show, because, Carol Burnett would always, at the end, the last segment would always be these big musical montages, medleys of like Gershwin and movie, old movie takeoffs and stuff. And then Sonny and Cher would always sing some great, standard in a gorgeous Bob Mackie outfit, and it was like, when I was 9, 10 years old, it was just like, I'd never seen anything like that. And then my grandmother picked up on that and bought me the George Gershwin Songbook and that big Nat King Cole box set of albums. And I was just on my way from about the age of 9 or 10 with the Great American Songbook. And I've just loved it ever since.
Yeah, my parents, they had us a little bit later in life, so they grew up during, the 30s and 40s. So they had some of the albums as a kid I found downstairs. So I kind of got into it that way, big band, Tommy Dorsey and that kind of thing. And then once you found out there was a station that played it, I just kind of got into it that way. So it was great exposure. Unfortunately, nowadays, I guess it's a little harder to find it, but it's out there. But we were able to find it when we could. That was good for us.
It's out there. I mean, when I was growing up, there was a radio station in Houston called KQUE, and they played all that stuff. So I listened to that. Everybody my age thought I was so weird. But, actually, you can, it's so great with YouTube now and Google and all the stuff that streams now. It's actually not as hard as you might think. Actually, with YouTube, you can find so many great stuff. I mean, I actually think that young people have it easier today than you and I did, when we were trying to find this music at our age growing up. But anyway, I feel like if you're into this music from a young age, somehow you find it or it finds you. It's just so weird, but it's there. And it comes to you, and it's just so great. It's so great.
You mentioned, the great variety shows, and again, you and I about a year apart, I think, but they were still on. But like you said, Carol Burnett was kind of the last one. I guess you and I kind of caught the tail end of the variety show. But now with YouTube, I've found so many now that thankfully some of them are put up there. You see from the 50s and even early 60s, Dinah Shore and of course Dean Martin and all those. Ed Sullivan, obviously they put Ed Sullivan up every day on there. The musical performances, wonderful stuff.
Andy Williams, there's
Andy
lots of great stuff that appears from Andy Williams. I mean, like hardly a day goes by that someone doesn't send me, or, I subscribe to a lot of people on YouTube that I don't see something I never saw before. And I'm just crazy about stuff from the 50s and 60s. So, it's just so great to discover it. And it's great that it all appears on YouTube. I mean, thank goodness for that. It's just fantastic. Yeah.
We're going to talk about your CD in a little bit. Again, it's called Billy's Place, again, filled with songs like we're talking about, the Great American Songbook. But another thing I know from you, and again, not too many people our age got into this artist, but Mel Torme. I was a huge fan of his, found him really early in life, and then just kind of enjoyed him his whole career, at least when we picked up on it. And obviously you got a chance to make an album. I can't sing, so at least you got to make an album of his songs.
Well, I love Mel Torme from a long time ago. I guess I probably, again, first time I might have seen him might have been on Carol Burnett. He
Right.
also used to make regular appearances on The Lucy Show, and Here's Lucy, because she loved him. So I remember seeing him growing up, and then when I was maybe 17 or 18, he came out with an album, a double album called Live with Friends at Marty's.
Oh, sure, I remember that. I had that
nightclub
album.
in New York. Oh, it was just, oh my God, my head exploded. I loved him so much. And then when I started singing in the 80s, people would say, "Gosh, you have a very similar sound. Something about the sound of my voice or the range of it, the timbre of my voice." People reminded me of Mel. And of course, back then I really liked to do more scat singing than I do now. I do a little of it, but I was really into it then. And then in 1988, with my vocal group, it was me and two girls. We were working a lot in New York and a lot of jazz festivals, and we had the chance to open for Mel Torme at the JBC Jazz Festival at Carnegie Hall, 1988. It was a thrill. It was fantastic. My whole family came up from Texas. I have a long story that I tell on my Torme tribute about that. And then in the early 90s, when I was first working with Liza Minnelli and we were going out a lot together, we had a couple of evenings in Beverly Hills with Mel Torme. So I got to know him a little bit. We didn't get to be close, but I got to spend a couple of lovely evenings with him. And, he has a very special place in my heart. I just thought he was phenomenal, not only as a singer, but as a writer and arranger, and just his taste level was just impeccable,
Yeah, I never got to meet him, but I played his albums. I started doing this kind of show, the big band and popular, American Popular Songbook in college radio. So Mel was part of that. And again, You mentioned the Marty's album. I think the first one I got was the Live at the Maisonette album. Remember that one?
Oh, that's phenomenal.
It was like a 20-minute Gershwin medley at the end.
That's exactly right. I love it. And, he arranged that. He told me that he arranged that whole medley. He said, and I said, "God, it's phenomenal. Did you do a lot of orchestration?" And he said he actually really didn't, because it took him so long to actually put it all on page. So most of the time, 98% of the time, he would lay out what he wanted, but he would have, Marty Page or different people actually do the physical orchestration. But that medley, he did it all himself, and he was quite proud of that, and rightly so. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, he goes back, and again, the connection to you, Billy, of course, working with Liza Minnelli all those years. Mel started... didn't start on television, but he was on television on the Judy Garland show. I guess he did a lot of the arrangements on that in 63 and 4, right?
He was the house arranger on that show, and he actually made a couple appearances on it as well.
Yeah.
He wrote quite a controversial book about his year doing it.
I read that a long time ago. I want to get it again.
Yeah,
I'd like to reread it.
It's not very complimentary in lots of spots about Judy, because she was going through a lot of tough times then. So when flash forward to 1992, when Liza and I went to dinner with Mel at the Friars Club in L.A., she was very nervous that day. She said, I'm still kind of mad at him about that book that he wrote about my mom. But she wanted to go to dinner because for me, it was very important to me. And that's the kind of friend she was to me. She was like, "I want you to meet him, and maybe it'll be lovely." And within 10 minutes, we opened a bottle of wine. We had some wine. And he actually was like, "I need to apologize." He was so sweet to Liza.
Oh, really?
He said, that back then when I wrote that book, I was smarting from the experience I had. I wasn't treated well financially. There was a lot of other stuff. I don't think he was happy personally. And he said, and now in hindsight, he said, I look back at it, it was really one of the most wonderful experiences of my life. And we drank a toast to Judy, and all was forgiven. And
that's great.
It was really, really lovely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You see those shows, again, they're available on YouTube, or at least they were, and tremendous shows. I always thought, though, you're kind of looking back on it, If they had just given her maybe 3 specials a year, I think that would have better served her, don't you think, rather than doing that week after week?
I think so, rather than doing a series. Well, I think it all came out the year before she did a special with Frank and Dean, and it was just so well received. Just the 3 of them singing, and she's adorable with the 2 of them. I mean, she's just, you could tell the way they love her. It makes her, she's like a little girl. She's just melting between these 2 guys. And then somebody picked up on that and thought, well, this should be a series. And I think the drag of it was that they put it on CBS opposite Bonanza.
Right.
That's what I've always heard. And she didn't have a chance in that time slot, And it's a very specialized thing. I mean, people who really are into the music would have loved it, but it wasn't like, something that people would have loved across the board. So I think, Doug, you might be right. If she would have done a yearly special, sort of like Barbara Streisand did at the beginning of her career, one a year, won some Emmy Awards, and and just less is more, and just done it phenomenally. But those shows are great. There was like maybe 28 shows or something like that, and I have them all on DVD, and they're so well produced. Gary Smith directed them, and Mel Torme, and it was a great staff of people, and they really stand up so well because every guest star was like phenomenal. So
once they kind of eliminated the comedy sketch, there's nothing wrong with them, but that really wasn't her forte.
Yeah.
The duets and her solos were the key.
Yeah, I think the first 8 or 10 were with Jerry Van Dyke, and they were trying to do comedy, and then they realized about 2 months, 3 months into it that wasn't right. Just like you said, that it was should be more about her singing and a little something with her talking with like June Allison or talking with Lena Horne,
Right.
but mainly about the singing, And those later shows in that series are the ones that really stand out the best, for sure.
I tell you, all the stories, we all heard them, the sad things that Judy Garland went through. But boy, that talent, even in the last year or 2 of her life, there's some stuff on YouTube you can hear from her last performances. Her voice was still not bad. I mean, considering what she was going through, the talent it still came through, didn't it?
The talent came through, the emotion came through, the intensity, the intent. All of it came through so beautifully. And, Liza told me many, many times, and she said it in interviews, people always think of my mom as being a tragic figure. And she said there was nobody funnier, who had a better sense of humor.
Right.
I mean, of course, she had her demons, and she had her addictions, and she had her problems. But she, Liza wanted people not to think of her that way. And so, and when you just look at the music and look at the output, it's really all about joy and entertainment and this phenomenal talent that we're still celebrating 50, 60, 70 years later. It's just amazing.
No doubt about it.
This has stood the test of time, for sure. Yeah.
Talking with Billy Stritch, and the new album is called Billy's Place. And again, that's the name of Billy's show that he did. I first saw it, Billy, I guess after this whole mess we're going through started, and you did it from your living room with Linda Lavin. I kind of found it on, I had Facebook up at work, and this is interesting. So I was able to watch it at work a little bit. I enjoyed that.
That's great. That's great. Well, the pandemic started, March of last year, and a few days into it, my friend Linda, who at the time lived in my building, 3 floors up, and we're great friends.
Oh, you live in the same building? I didn't know that. Okay.
Well, she's since sold the apartment, but at the time she was up, and I was seeing her a lot. And she said, "Let's do something on YouTube. I mean, on Facebook." So I just set up my iPad, and we didn't have any mics or anything, and we did Wednesday afternoon shows. Just 30 minutes, and we got phenomenal. It was at the beginning of this, so everybody was home. And we would get like thousands of views every week. It was just great. And then about 2 months into it, Linda said, "You know what? I'm not feeling it this week. I don't really want to do something." There was a lot going on with her life, and also it was a weird time in New York. There was looting, and the George Floyd thing was happening, and it was just a really kind of weird time in May, late April of 2020. And so I grabbed that spot. I said, I'll just do a little show of my own from my apartment. And that was the beginning of Billy's Place, because 2 weeks later, we started doing it on Thursday evenings. And I'm still doing it. And tomorrow will be my 58th episode. It's just been amazing. Every week has been a different composer. Gershwin. I did Gershwin. I've done 2 Cole Porters. I've done Rodgers and Hammerstein, Rodgers and Hart. I did a Barry Manilow show, and Barry called in because it was his birthday. I mean, we just have great concepts, and it's just been, when I started it, I didn't realize the great thing that's come out of it is that I've been able to make new fans in Europe and in South America and on the West Coast, and people that don't normally get to see me wherever I perform. So it's really broadened that, and so I'm going to continue doing that for the next few months, at least, even now that I'm out working in clubs again.
That's great.
It's been a great thing.
I've seen many of the YouTube shows, and it's like I said, I don't know if you're just using your iPad, but it looks really well produced. I mean, you got good lighting. The sound is great. Whatever you're doing, it's good.
After about 2 months, we got out of the we got out of the iPad. We bought a webcam. I painted the wall. I got sound. I got lights.
Very high produced. Yeah.
So we really upped the game a couple of months in because by the end of May it was like, well, this isn't going to stop. We're going to keep doing this. So the production has gone up. I do it live every Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern time on my Facebook page, which anybody can access. You don't have to be my Facebook friend, or you don't have to even have a Facebook account. You just go to facebook.com, put Billy Stritch in the search. There I am. And then once the shows are done, they're archived onto YouTube, onto my Billy Stritch channel. So all the shows are there. And it's so great that they're there and people can go back and watch what I've done. And it's been a wonderful journey for me because not only have I learned a lot of new songs and honored a lot of requests that I've gotten, but it's just expanded my musical head, just got me thinking in lots of different ways. And it's just fun to perform every week and be in that informal, just do a new show every week and just perform to the camera and the people at home, and it's just been a whole new thing for me. It's been great.
I've seen I think Neil Sedaka has done it on maybe not weekly, but several times. Dina Martin is doing it, and several others. So it's at least it gave you people an outlet. Unfortunately, where you couldn't go out on the road, at least you could still perform, which is great.
Well, it did. We all had to kind of pivot, and in my case, not only for a creative outlet, but it's also been something I've been able to monetize a little bit because, people are able to I'm very grateful. People send me tips and they request things. And so, that in the early days of all this, that was really key for me. It was like I had to generate an income. So I was very grateful for all the people that have done that and continue to do that. It's really kept me going. Sure.
That's the one thing about musicians. You're not on salary. You only make money when you do a gig or sell an album.
That's right. That's it. We're working week to week. Baby. That's it. Yep.
But God bless you for that. And I guess that led to the CD, right? I mean, called Billy's Place. Is that what kind of led to it? The current one I'm talking about.
Yeah, about 3 months into this, in like July of last year, I got in touch with my friends who have a record label in Nashville. It's called Club 44. And I said, I had this idea of coming down and just doing a very simple album, some of the songs that I have loved doing on the live streams, just me and a piano. I didn't want to make it expensive, because I didn't want to get in a room full of musicians because we were very still masked and there was no vaccination, obviously, at that point. So they were all over it. I flew down to Nashville. We did it in a couple of days. It was mastered right away. And it was released at the end of October of last year. And it's just done so well. I'm so thrilled with it. It's called Billy's Place. And it's available you can get the physical copies on Amazon or through my website, billystritch.com, or you can download it at all these download places, Pandora and Apple Music and iTunes and all of everyone you could think of. It's there. And then one of the cuts that I did on the album is a song called Ordinary Miracles, written by Marvin Hamlish and Alan and Marilyn Bergman. And a couple of months ago, my producer added a big orchestra to it. So that's been released as a single.
Right.
It's called Ordinary Miracles, the Symphony Mix. And that's doing quite well. It's on lots of playlists. It's on about 25 different playlists now with Pandora and with, you know what they are.
Sure.
It's like they sent me a text yesterday with all these lists that it's on. So I'm really happy that it's out there, and it's doing really, really well, and I'm very excited about it. It's got a lot of great song standards. It's got Hoagie Carmichael on it. It's got the Bergmans on it. It's got a couple of original songs on it. It's got a beautiful song called Lazy Afternoon, which I'm sure you know, which is that's on there. And so it's a really nice mix of material. And it's just me and a piano, and it's a kind of a nice, moody, wonderful little journey.
How is, you mentioned, the downloads and the way the music business has changed for, jazz musicians like yourself or just musicians in general? Is it easier to get music out there? Can you make money as you used to do in records?
Well,
if you don't mind me asking, I just wonder how it's working for you guys.
No, I don't mind you asking. I mean, it's a very good question. It's a very valid point. I obviously make more money when people go to my website and buy the CD. Mm-hmm. And I sign it for them, and I mail it to them, and everything that comes out of it, I get. The downloading is great because, more people can get it, but I get a minuscule fraction of what I would get from an actual physical CD.
Right.
I'm not complaining, but a little bit, But it's like, because, it's literally like pennies and nickels and dimes on a download, as opposed to getting like dollars on an actual CD.
You just hear all these stories about musicians in all genres just not making money. They'd have to go on tour to make the money.
You do, and I have to sell albums at live venues or like on the website, and that's how that happens mainly for me. I mean, the way the business is going, so many people don't even play CDs anymore. I remember when CDs came out, and they were like, we were all in CDs, they're so small and you could play them anywhere. You play them in your car, and so that was the thing. And now a lot of people are like, oh, I don't have a CD player. I'm like, really? Okay. And I'm kind of the same way. I download a lot of stuff, but I think it's also, if I like the artist, I actually like to have the CD because it's got all the information and the artwork and the signature, if you're into that, I have boxes of them here. So if anyone's interested they can just go to my BillyStritch.com and I'll be happy to send you one and sign it, and I'd be thrilled with that. So that's all good.
Talking with Billy Stritch. Again, the name of the new CD is called Billy's Place, and the new single, like you just mentioned, called Ordinary Miracles, a big 46-piece orchestra with that. And another song on there, and I also wanted to ask you about it, a mutual friend that I met, probably like you did on Facebook. You did a wonderful duet with the Since You Left New York. That was about a year ago now. Debbie Wildman. What a great talent.
Debbie. Isn't she fantastic?
Unbelievable. Yeah.
I have yet to actually meet her in person, but we became friends on Facebook at the beginning of the pandemic. And she started showing up, and friends were like, have you heard this girl? Have you heard this girl? And my co-writer on Since You Left New York is an old friend of mine named Sandy Knox. And she said, you got to check her out. And you guys have to do a duet of Since You Left New York. So Sandy and I co-produced the video, and it's on YouTube. You could see us singing this song. I mean, I'm doing it myself just as a solo on the album, but it's a really, really fun video that we did. She was in London and I was in New York, and Sandy had it edited in Nashville. So, and it's a good song. We wrote this song years ago, but it has a really
I didn't know that until I read the notes. I thought you wrote that during the pandemic.
I mean,
but, yeah.
Wouldn't you think? Because the lyrics are so pertinent to like New York shutting down. You know, I mean, it's a love song. It's about New York's not the same since you left, but the imagery is like they turned the lights off, Broadway. There's no New Year's Eve in Times Square. So it's all about what actually really happened to us last year. So I've been doing that in the live shows, and it gets such a nice response.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great.
Now, did you do that at the same time, or do you have to each do your part and then it's edited together? It was wonderfully done, whoever did the editing.
Well, I played a piano track in New York, and I sang we didn't do it at the same time, no.
Okay.
I mean,
it looks like you did. I mean, that's what makes it look, it looks like you did, yeah.
We were just all learning at the same time. I did the piano track. I sent it to her. I lined out where she would sing, where I would sing. She sent me back a track, and I added my vocal to it, I mean, it was done so kind of low rent. You know, it was like all on iPhones and that. And then we sent it to Sandy, and she had somebody add a little bass part, a little drum part, and then graphics to the video. So
Yeah,
it was
job.
done on a shoestring, but I thought it turned out really, really well. Yeah.
And again, for people not aware, Debbie Wildman kind of burst onto the scene like about a year and a half ago during this, just singing some songs. She's based in England. She's a former singer. I think she kind of got out of the business for a while. But the one thing that sets her apart, other than having a great voice on her own, she does the best Judy Garland imitation I've ever heard.
The best.
Unbelievable.
I mean, unbelievable. She actually does, at the beginning, she was doing a daily video and putting them on her Facebook page. It's Debbie Wildman, Wileman. Check her out on Facebook. She was doing something every day. And then, early part of this year, she went to 3 a week, and she's still doing that.
Yeah.
And when she does Judy, sometimes she'll put on the Judy wig.
That's right.
She'll put on the Judy persona, and she'll do a whole monologue set up to it. And then last Christmas, when we did one of my Christmas live streams on Billy's Place, I reached out to her and I said, could you do Judy Garland's reading the night before Christmas? And she didn't know. She said, I don't know that poem. And I just thought everyone in the world knew it. I thought because we know it so well over here, I guess it's not a big deal over there. And I sent it to her. And so if you look, I forget what episode it is, but it's one of my Christmas shows.
Oh, I got to look for it. I didn't see that one. I have to look for that.
She's in the back of the car. I'll find it and I'll send it to you later.
Yeah.
But she's in the back of her car with the light on.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because she goes, 'twas the night before Christmas. I can't do the Judy voice, but it's hilarious. It is so funny. And I can't wait to actually meet her in person and work with her because she's such a talent.
Well, I hadn't a chance to talk to her. We did a Skype interview about a year ago. As I said that we got to have her on just because of the variety of impressions she does. Not only Judy, but she does so many other ones. But she's got to get back in the business. I know she has a little daughter she's raising and all that. But boy, I think that's world-class talent there. She's got to come to New York and work with you guys.
It absolutely is world-class talent. That's for sure.
I don't know if you've talked to Liza or anything. Do you think Liza's heard Debbie? Maybe she doesn't want to hear that.
I haven't talked to Liza, so I have no idea whether that's
It's almost eerie. It might make Liza uncomfortable because it's so good, that imitation.
It actually might. It actually might. Knowing Liza the way I do, she might not like it the way we like it. It's hard to tell with Liza, but because I think she would appreciate that it's a girl singing and tributing her mother so honestly and faithfully, and not making fun.
No, it's not. It's not in making fun at all. She even says, "I do this with love," but she's got that voice pattern down when she talks that I've never heard anybody do that. That's great.
I mean, I think when Liza doesn't like it, it's when people make fun of her mom.
Well, they do
not that.
Like they're half in the bag or something. But no, she doesn't do that. No.
No, she doesn't do that. Yeah. So that's good. Yeah.
But then again, you talk about the live shows. Birdland, a great famous place in New York, famous club. You still do that once a week, right?
Once a week. We do the open mic every Monday night, which is great. I just finished a 3-night run last week, of my own show with my trio, which was just so great. And I'm about to go to Minneapolis this weekend to work a club called Crooners in Minneapolis, and I'm really excited about that. They've got a gorgeous piano. I'm so excited about going to play this piano. And then on the 26th of August, 26th of August, I'm going to Carmel, Indiana, which is right outside of Indianapolis. And I'm doing the new Feinstein's Club at the Carmichael Hotel there.
Oh, great. Michael Feinstein, that's the same Michael Feinstein then. They had one in New York?
It is.
Great.
It's the same Michael Feinstein. They've opened a new club. It's part of, Carmel, Indiana. It's a very nice suburb of Indianapolis. There's a beautiful theater there called the Palladium. And Michael has his whole musical archives there in a library. And they've branded this new nightclub at a hotel there. So I'll be there the 26th of September. And then just moving on from that, I'm working at a great club in Palm Springs, California called the Purple Room. And it's like a big, the Rat Pack used to have.
Oh, sure. I've heard of that. Yeah.
60s. I'll be there October 8th and 9th. It's a little ways off, but I'm so excited to be coming there. I've worked there with Marilyn May, and I've worked there with Linda Lavin, and they're going to have me as a soloist, and so that's exciting as well.
Well, that's good. So things are opening up.
Things are opening up.
Great.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm doing a lot of accompanying for other singers. I work with Laura Benanti, and I work with Linda Eder and Anne Hampton Callaway. So that fills up, my time as well. So between the solo gigs and those gigs, I'm getting busy again. I'm thrilled about it.
That's a special talent. In addition to being able to sing and play for yourself, is to accompany somebody else, isn't it? It's a different kind of playing, isn't it?
It really is, and I'm glad you brought that up. I love accompanying because as a singer myself, I really feel like I have a special ability for that because I know how to phrase with another singer. I know how to watch them breathe. I know how to lay out. I know how to just support them from underneath and not get in the way. And I love the camaraderie and the collaboration that you get on stage when you're accompanying a great singer. And I love singing with other singers. A lot of these singers I work with, we also do duets as well, and that's always a treat. But I really feel like accompanying is an art form. And it's something that I really enjoy and that I excel at, and I've always loved doing. And not everybody can do it. I always say there are pianists that can play technically better than I can, that really have so much different ability. But to actually really accompany a singer and listen to what they're doing and support them in a beautiful way is a unique thing, and I really enjoy it a lot. I really enjoy it, and luckily a lot of people seek me out for that.
Yeah, my sister did that, and like a lot of church things and accompanied, and she told me that it's a difficult thing to learn, and it's a special skill. That's why I asked you. I figured on professional level, it's really got to be tricky to do.
It's a special skill. I started out playing for people in church and in high school choir, and so, I've kind of done it for a while, but it's just a specialized thing, and it helps because like I said, I'm a singer, so I really know how the singer breathes and how the singer phrases, and that informs what I do as an accompanist.
Well, Billy Stritch, I know we kept you longer than we said, but we could talk for hours, but we don't want to do that because you got to get ready for your shows. So we'll put it on for a future time, but we want to remind the people again to get the CD called Billy's Place. Best place is at your website, right? BillyStritch.com?
That's right. Exactly.
And we'll look forward to that. And you got to come down to Florida sometime, too. Hopefully in the winter, get a Florida gig. We'll see you in person.
Well, I was there a couple times last spring at the Wick Theater in Boca Raton.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll be back before too much longer. And
try Sarasota. We got a great jazz community down here. So see if you can get down to Sarasota.
You do.
Yeah.
I know you do. Okay. I'll look into that. I would love to do that.
Great.
And let's do this again, Doug. I'd love talking with you.
Check out Billy's Place on YouTube Thursday nights, Facebook as well. And Billy Stritch, real pleasure talking to you. Thanks for being with us, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, my friend. Thank you.
I'm Stan Brock. 30 years ago, I formed Remote Area Medical to help people overseas. But then we found generations of families in America isolated by poverty from the health care they need. Together, we can take dental, vision, and medical help to 1 million adults and their kids, right here at home in the United States of America.